Welcome to Your Family's Health. This is Dr. Jeanine Cook-Gerard, and I'm here along with Tiffany, you, and Samantha Scalese. We're from the nursing department here at Nassau Community College. Your Family's Health is a program that focuses on healthcare issues and resources available here in Nassau County. On the show, we will be speaking to experts from around the country to keep you up to date on current healthcare issues and trends. Today, we will be speaking to Edie Littlefield Sundby about her book, The Mission Walker. Edie's book is very fascinating. This is the second interview, and she was given 3 months to live. Instead, she beat stage 4 cancer for 10 years, losing a lung, radical surgeries, losing her gallbladder, 60% of her liver, part of her colon, and really became the only person in history to walk the 1,600-mile El Camino Real Mission Trail. And Edie is here to tell us how she did it. So if you want to know more about how to stay healthy in Nassau County, stay tuned for the next half hour to the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Welcome to the show, Edie. Welcome back.
Thank you, Jeanine. It's so good to be back with you.
It's so good to hear you. And just for the listening audience's sake, tell us how you knew that, going back, how you knew something was wrong that really initiated your visit to the hospital.
Well, cancer is a silent stalker. And oftentimes we're filled with cancer, and we really don't know it because it's very clever. It hides out, and it grows until it's overcome so many of your healthy cells. But there are warning signs, and that's why we have to be attuned to those warning signs. The warning signs for me was pain in my upper right shoulder area in the back, kind of underneath my rib, underneath my rib casing, and it wouldn't go away, and it got more intense. I found out later that was the cancer tumors growing and pressing against the nerves down in my stomach area, which is connected with your shoulder. Another thing that was a warning sign was I was having abdominal cramping, sporadic, but then it got more intense and more frequent. And that was definitely a sign, along with back pain.
So what kind of treatments did you end up going through when you found out that you had cancer?
The key to, I think, any success with any treatment, especially stage 4 cancer, is to stay in the game and stay alive. And I took this very seriously and acted very quickly. I found out very quickly that I was filled with cancer. It was in my liver, it was in my lung, it was in my gallbladder, it was in my colon, it was in my peritoneum, it was in 8 different organs. So I didn't have a lot of time, and the doctors were talking about palliative care. But I wanted to live, and I knew I had to act very quickly and very aggressively in order to have a chance here.
And when you were given only 3 months to live, where was the cancer and how bad was it?
It started out, we determined from a biopsy that it had started in my gallbladder, so the origin was gallbladder. Thank goodness that doctors aren't just treating us now according to the origin of the cancer, they're treating us according to the type. So it's an adenoma carcinoma was the type, which is very, very common. It's a very common lung. It gets in your lungs, it gets in your stomach, it gets in your pancreas. It's all over, adenocarcinomas. And so it was in 8 organs, and it had already spread, broken outside of my gallbladder. Like I mentioned earlier, cancer is a silent stalker. It started in the gallbladder. It hid out for a while there. Then it expanded upwards into the lung, and then it extended downwards into my peritoneum, into my colon, into my bowels. And it was really quite extensive at the time we discovered it.
What year was it that you discovered all of this cancer?
This was 10 years ago in 2007.
2007.
So how many rounds of
of chemo did you have to go through, and what was it like enduring it, going through that, and how did it feel?
Well, chemo is like drinking Drano, but it's necessary. For example, I knew that chemo might kill me, but I knew definitely that cancer would kill me. So I opted for the lesser of two evils, chemotherapy. And I was very aggressive. My team at Stanford Cancer Center, they were very aggressive too, because it's like Dr. Fisher, my lead oncologist, said. He said, Edie, you're never going to be stronger than you are right at the very beginning of treatment. So let's hit it with our best shot. Let's take out the big guns here. And so we did, and we fought relentlessly, because cancer is smart and relentless, and you and your medical team must be also. So I went through 79 rounds of chemo, almost 1 million milligrams of chemo, several dozen radiation treatments, and 4 major surgeries in the course of 6 years to overcome this stuff.
Tell us about the rocks in your pockets that you write about in your book, The Mission Walker.
Well, I wanted to live. And I wanted, because, and not out of fear of death, but I wanted to live out of the love of life. And so I was highly motivated. And I knew the only hope that I have was systemic chemo. Now today they're doing some immunotherapy. They're having some wonderful results with that. But still, most people do not respond. Most of us, when we go into the cancer center, we're still treated with old-line traditional chemotherapies. And the amount of chemotherapy they can give you is dependent on your weight. And, of course, what happens is the cancer eats away at you. You get sicker and sicker, and you lose weight. You get down to be almost a skeleton. So, and also, doctors get worried that you can't tolerate the chemo. Well, I was determined to live, so I wanted as much chemo as they possibly could give me. And so I would walk. I walked every day, and I would walk along the beach, and I collected these 1-pound rocks. And my husband had a big overcoat, and I put these rocks in plastic baggies in the pockets of his overcoat and go in for weigh-in before my chemotherapy.
Does your doctor now know about these rocks that you put in your...
When I say this, doctors absolutely cringe. They're afraid of the toxic effects of chemo, and they know that chemo is a very dangerous drug. However, I had stage 4 cancer, and nothing is more evil and more toxic and more dangerous than stage 4 cancer. So I was personally taking responsibility. It was not their responsibility, it was mine. And one of the things I did realize up front, that you can choose here, or you can let others make choices for you. Yeah. And I felt empowered to make my own choices, understanding what the consequences, and the consequence is death, but death is also the consequence of untreated stage 4 cancer.
After losing your right lung, you decided that the best way to heal was to walk the El Camino Real Mission Trail. Where did this idea come from?
I think that regardless of what's happening to us in life, we need a purpose, a higher, something really that is outside of our existence. And so the mission trail starts down in Mexico, and it goes through here in San Diego, and there are mission bells along the old mission trail. There are 21 old Spanish missions that were built in the 1700s, and they are up and down the coast and over the mountains into the valleys of California, 21 of them. And then there are 17 of them, or 18 of them, down in Mexico below the border. And so my purpose, my passion became following those bells. The civic organizations had put mission bells up along the California Mission Trail starting in 1906, and those bells still line the mission trail. And so my dream, my passion, was to follow those bells and to heal. Again, I did this 6 years after being struck with cancer, after I'd had 4 radical surgeries. I'd lost 60% of my liver. I'd lost a lung. I'd lost 10 inches of colon, a couple inches of my stomach. I needed to heal. I needed to heal physically, but I also needed to heal emotionally. And walking is the best medicine. Hippocrates wrote that. He said, walking is the best medicine. They knew that even in the days of Hippocrates.
So as you were walking, did you consider this walk a spiritual journey?
I considered this walk a healing journey. And yes, I believe that a spirit is a very big piece of healing. To become whole, that's what healing is. And you can heal and not be cured. And I know with stage 4 cancer, I may never be cured because it keeps coming back. Again, it's relentless. But I can heal. And the walk, that 1,600-mile walk to all the old missions, those 39 missions, healed me and made me whole.
As you were walking, what resonated in your mind?
When I'm out walking, I am so in the moment. You have to be. And by the way, the body is always in the moment. The body doesn't have to think about mindfulness. The body is always very mindful. It's the mind that we have to control and bring back to the moment. But the body is always in the moment, and especially on a long walk, because you have to become almost owl-eyed. You have to be able to look up, look down, and look around and look behind you and in front of you all at the same time, because the dangers are real when you're out there walking. But instead of making you nervous or afraid, no, it makes you alive, tingling. When I walk, I vibrate.
Didn't your family, your friends, doctors, didn't they tell you that this idea was a little crazy?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was very foolish. You know, it's like David Henry Thoreau said. He said, walking for long distances is a walk of faith, and all walks, long walks, are a walk of faith. I didn't tell my doctor. I didn't tell Dr. George Fisher at Stanford Cancer Center. He always said, Edie, don't do anything foolish. We've worked so hard to keep you alive. Please don't do anything foolish. And he might have thought this was very foolish.
Interesting. So did you take any of your family members with you, like your husband or your children?
On a long walk. Again, this is 1,600 miles, and it was done in 2 pieces. The first piece, the first 800 miles from San Diego to Sonoma, was done in 2013. It was 6 months after Stanford took out my right lung. And I didn't want to have a diminished life. And I knew if I did not heal and heal my lung capacity with that one lung remaining, if I didn't expand that capacity as much as physically possible, I would have a very diminished life. And so I started walking in San Diego, and my husband had plans to walk with me, but this is a 2-month walk. I walked for 2 months. I averaged 14.5 miles a day, every day, for 2 months. And that's what it took to walk the 800 miles. And during that walk, I had friends join me for a day. I had strangers join me. Many, many days I walked alone. But I was never walking alone. I always felt I was walking with God.
Mm. Well, that's a nice piece to take a break with. You're listening to Your Family's Health on the Voice of NASA Community College, 90.3 WHPC. This is Dr. Jeanine Cook-Gerard, and I'm here with Tiffany, you, and Samantha Scalese, and we will continue talking to Edie Littlefield Sundby right after this short break.
Peekaboo. Peekaboo, smile.
Smile, buddy.
Come on, smile. Oh, honey, he's still not smiling.
Maybe he's not a smiler.
Yeah, maybe he's just not a happy baby.
Maybe he's just being a boy. You know how boys are.
Or maybe he's teething. Oh, poor baby. I think his gums hurt.
Maybe he's just tired.
Or maybe his tummy hurts. He didn't eat that much.
Maybe he's not ticklish.
You think maybe he's scared of the dog?
Maybe he'll outgrow it. Maybe it's a phase. Maybe he just doesn't like smiling.
Maybe